What's going on, everybody? My name is Paul. Welcome to the basketball show. I want to talk about rivalries today. Old school rivalries. I'm gonna let you listen to some comments from Sam Mitchell describing a rivalry from the 90s, which was the New York Knicks and the Indiana Pacers. That rivalry, since I'm a Knicks fan myself, was unbelievable to me. It lasted years. I believe it was 93, 94, 95. Last season, the Knicks lost to the Pacers. It was Reggie Miller, John Starks, Patrick Ewing, Rick Smits, the Davis brothers, and all that. Sam Mitchell was a part of it. Listen to his comments, please, because this is going to be very enlightening to a lot of people that haven't witnessed those rivalries and what the approach of the players was, because it was insane. It was crazy. It was amazing. This is what needs to be a part of today's NBA, to for the fans to be as passionate about the basketball, about the NBA, as they were in the 90s and 80s and so on. So take a listen to those comments and I'll be right back with you.
Sam, while we have you, one thing BJ and I like to do from time to time is go back to our favorite decade of the 90s. And being that you guys both played in some fierce playoff series, usually I put BJ on the spot. Today I want to put you on the spot. And one of the most underrated conference finals, I think, ever, but specifically of the 90s, is one you participated in with the Indiana Pacers in 1994 against the New York Knicks. Can you take us back to that series and how fierce it was, that matchup, the style of play, the trash talk, the personalities, and just how competitive that was?
Man, when I say this, and BJ understand this, when I say we hated the Knicks and they hated us, we hated them. I was at a party in the off season in the summertime, in Atlanta, Georgia, my state, and a couple of Knicks players came. And I left the party to go get my boys because we were gonna start a fight. We did not stand the Knicks. So when you talk about, look, we used to sit in the locker room before the game, and this was our mantra. I don't care how many fouls you have in the first quarter. Anybody come to the hole, you take them out, period. Because our team was deep. Larry Brown could go 12 deep on our team. So we were going to take them out. And we had another rule. Every time they hit Reggie, no matter who it was, we didn't hit the guy that hit Reggie. We took it out on Patrick. And we would tell Pat. Every time we thought somebody hit Reggie a little too hard, we come down on Patrick even harder. So we hated each other, and we knew the first team to 90 points were going to win. Our meetings were, look, no layups, none. See, I don't care if you got 3 fouls in the first quarter. If you're in the game and somebody drives to the hole, you put them on the ground. Forget a foul. They had to hit the ground. Hey, man, I didn't start liking guys that played for the Knicks. It had to be 10, 12 years later. I wouldn't speak to him.
Oh, man.
Charles Oakley was the first guy to start that stuff fouling people after the whistle was blown. Oakley would lay you out, man, and they would never call it.
Yep.
So, I mean, we just hated each other, man. The one thing that we did used to say all the time, if we could force the Knicks to play basketball, we felt like the Knicks wanted to roughhouse you. And Larry Brown wanted to play basketball, right? He wanted free flowing. He wanted hands off, ball moving, popping, And if Pat Riley wasn't going to let you do that, because Pat Riley knew the team he had, they couldn't play that way, right? We had ballerinas. They had guys, I don't know what you call them, slogging in the mud or running on the beach and sand. And Pat Riley understood that if the game became down to skill and basketball, we blow them off the floor. So, but we understood the only way that we could stay in the game with them, we had to try to match their physicality, because physically, we wasn't as physical as they were, and they weren't as big as they were. So it was really a stretch for us to step outside of our comfort zone to play, had to do that in order to combat what they was doing to us. We had we had guys built like 18 wheelers, long and powerful. They had guys built like Sherman tanks. You know what I mean?
Man, I was laughing. I was laughing listening to Sam. This was awesome to hear, awesome to remember. Those series were unbelievable. Reggie Miller, John Starks going at it, pushing each other, shoving each other, fouling each other, grabbing, all that stuff. It was crazy. The Davis brothers. And the comparison that he had here, which I heard at the end, which they had the 18-wheeler guys built strong, big, but the Knicks had the guys built like Sherman tanks. That's insane. That's funny. I mean, listen, I remember that time. Anthony Mason was a beast. I'm going to include a bio video I have of Anthony Mason, which I think was great. That's from my other channel. I'm going to include that in the description here so you could take a peek. Anthony Mason was a beast, man. I love that guy. Unfortunately, rip Anthony Mason. He passed away early. He had heart issues and he passed away. Charles Oakley, another beast on the court. Patrick Ewing was not a slouch. He would body you. He was tough. He was strong. Anthony Bonner, which he mentioned in there. I remember him. Bonner didn't have a much offensive game, but he was a good defender. He was a very good defender, and he was tough. He was physical. Charles Smith, I don't know why he mentioned Charles Smith, because Charles Smith, I don't know. I always considered Charles Smith to be a little bit soft. But the Davis brothers on the Indiana team, they had their shoulders were like, they were built like freaking LeBron James right now. Just get the photos from the 90s and look at Dale Davis, how that guy was built. He was a monster. Dale Davis had a mid-range shot, the same with Antonio Davis. They were crazy rebounders. But let me get back to this. Watching these kinds of series, having these kinds of rough games and rough series and super high emotions, because it was like, it was like a hammer against hammer, and one wouldn't give way to the other, and it was like a seesaw. That was awesome. Right now, I just can't stand this basketball. It's terrible. In the previous video I shared with you guys yesterday, I showed you a clip of the Phoenix Suns playing the Lakers. Yes, it is regular season, but you got a minute, 22 seconds. You got 7 3-point attempts. Every 11 seconds, there's a 3-point attempt on that during that game. It's just ridiculous. This was unbelievable. This was tough. Cutting to the basket, plays, bumping guys, hitting guys. There was strategy, and people had to protect other people. You had enforcers like Charles Oakley. You had guys, like I said, Dale Davis and Antonio Davis on Indiana. If you hit Reggie Miller, they'd go after Patrick Ewing. It was just, I miss those days, man. I miss those hard-nosed games, hard-nosed NBA games with tough guys on the teams and allowing them to play a little bit freer than they are right now. I mean, they have freedom of movement, but you can't touch anybody. Even Kobe, I mentioned this so many times. Kobe, before retiring, he was talking to the media and he said that the current NBA is so much less physical than it used to be. It's ridiculous, and it makes him feel like he wants to throw up, because you can't touch anybody. You just touch somebody right now, and it's a flagrant foul in today's NBA. So I can understand that, but man, do I miss those days. Maybe I go a little bit deeper in some other video about this whole series, because there was so many situations but you had Reggie Miller. I believe that was in 1995, if I'm not mistaken, the year after. I don't think it was 94. I think it was 95, where Reggie Miller, the Indiana Pacers were down 6 points with, I think, 18 seconds remaining or something like that. The guy hits a three. He steals the ball, well, pushes Greg Anthony down. He takes another three. He ties the game. Then he gets fouled because the Pacers get a stop. And he hits 2 free throws, and the Indiana Pacers win that game. It was just crazy stuff, man. So emotional. Fans were so into it because they saw how much emotion there was between the two sides. So the fans, being the fans for each of their teams, would be so emotional for those series, for those games. It was unbelievable to watch, man. I miss those days. Tell me which rivalries you guys enjoyed. Maybe I'll talk about those and find somebody with some great comments about those. But unbelievable. I got to look into more into Chicago, Detroit. Maybe some people talking about it. I'll bring some comments up. But Indiana and New York was crazy. Thank you for tuning in today. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.